Yes,
Can you tell me about the paper? How did you get started in the business?
How long do I have?
As long as you want.
Okay. Well, the Kaumba newspaper came about. There was no representation here in this area telling about what was going on with us, except who's going to jail this morning, who did this and who done that. No. So I wanted to bring out the positive side of my culture. And so I was thinking about how the slaves came different parts of the country. East. I'm from New Jersey, and they were up there owned by different people, even right there in your capital of the whole country, Washington, D.C., there were slaves. If you ever go to visit the first president's land up there, you'll see all the little matchbox houses. How they all got in there, I don't know. They had to cook on the outside no matter what kind of weather or whatever. Their little fire thing was outside. And yet the weather up there, you remember when Washington was crossing the Delaware and the little slave boy was told to watch these horses so when we come back to water, and the boy froze to death? Y'all ever see those?
I saw that.
Yes, a little black boy with a red, like a jockey suit on. And people put him in their yards to remind them of there was, something that went on, and somebody took a picture of this little boy who died. Well, I thought that at the same time, the slaves were listening to their slave owners, and they were trying to learn English, and all they could hear was the slaves saying, the people that owned them singing, "Come by here, dear Lord, come by," and it sounded good to them. So they learned the words, "come by." Only they had an accent to their way of speaking. It was "come by here, dear Lord, come by." Can't you just hear those male voices coming out? And they knew that the slave owners were praying to somebody up above, and they knew where they had been. The person who was over them as their God was up above. So they would sing that. So I was thinking that I'm gonna name my newspaper Heritage, but I want to bring in the fact that this is something dealing with my culture. And so I wrote the newspaper Kaumba, New Jersey, Kaumba Heritage. My email is Kaumba Jersey. I'm mixing the two up. But the newspaper was entitled Kaumba Heritage, the heritage of the slaves. And so that's how it got started.
Okay.
Something happened where I said I'm never going to be silent again. It was in the 5th grade. I was a very good student because I was inquisitive, and teachers like for you to be interested in the subject they're teaching. So I was always curious and raised my hand, but what about this? But I got to the 5th grade where this gentleman came from down south to teach in the public school system. I was with 6 other black kids, one of them my cousin. We had started to go to school together in kindergarten, and now we were in the 5th grade. This teacher asked all of us, "Stand up. You got this man running around the country called Martin Luther King talking about you want to be treated equal. Then you got this other one talking about he want to be called black, all his people be called black. We want to know so we don't get it wrong in this classroom. What do you want to be called?" Just us blacks are standing. This one guy named Tyrone Bond, he said, "Well, my mother named me Tyrone Bond, but you know what? Y'all can call me Tyrone." He didn't laugh. He said, "Get your so-and-so outside, stand by the door." Well, I thought he was just mad at him. So I was next, and I said, "My name is Teresa West. You call me Teresa. Some people call me Terry." I sat into the closet every day for about 6 months. He shot all 7 of us. And the worst place he could send you, I would cry at night. Even when I was grown and got married, my husband asked me, why sometimes in the middle of the night you be crying and saying, I'm not stupid, I'm not stupid. There was this thing he had made that looked like it went up into a cone but came down water, or it sat on your head. And the words that came down said, dunce. He explained to the class that means somebody stupid. I didn't mind being set into the closet. I didn't mind going into one of the corners of the room facing the corner. I didn't mind even being outside the door. The worst thing about being outside the door, the principal may be roaming through the halls. And if she see you outside the door, she take you to her office. And you have to write 500 times, I will obey my teacher. That was okay too. But what it was I when he be telling them what his sign meant, that's what went into me. That he is telling them I'm stupid. All because we didn't know, we was 9 years old. What I know about Stopey Carmichael wanting all blacks to be called black. As for the pageants, I wanted the girls to know that you're somebody. You know, Greenville had pageants after pageants. Never has a black girl ever won. All over. We'd have to have our own pageants in order. I would go to the Greenville pageant because a white friend of mine had a kid in it or something like that. And I would just sit sitting there and I'd look at the staff of judges over there, and they'd be all white. And I said, listen, if I'm a zebra and they asking me what's beautiful up there, if there's no zebra up there, I guess I'll pick the one that's got some pimples or something, because we're drawn to what we can relate to. And so they were picking white girls as winners. So I said, I'm going to turn the table on that. I'm going to put a pageant together. I'm going to put some white people on the judge panel, but never more than the black ones. So if one white voting for that one white girl, hey, you're going to have, it's never an even number. You can't have 2 judges or 4 judges or 6. You have to have an odd number, because that odd number is going to break the tie of those other ones. And so that was what was happening until a Hispanic girl got into the pageant. I never denied anybody getting in, but because that was money. But this Hispanic girl got in and she won, and she was truly beautiful and everything. So she just went to the hearts of all the judges, and I like for them to pick somebody after you talk to that girl during the week and all this stuff, because judging is going on all week. Find out what is she into? Is she into herself, or she's just seeking to go and help animals or this or that? Find out her personality. Pretty comes a dime a dozen. Yeah. Plenty of when people look good, but what are they about? So it went on like that, and I wanted it for the black girls because during the parades, you would never see a black girl sitting on top of that fire engine. And it made me sad. And I said, you know what, I'm going to change this to where we can feel as though we're beautiful as well.
I'm taking you back now to articles for the Greenville Herald Banner, and what was that experience like?
Well, I didn't know you at the time, I don't think.
But
But you were a writer. You knew how to open a book and read it and comprehend. Why were the only writer they had in the Herald Banner? I came in 69. By 1974 is when I walked in that office up there. God had told me, go up and ask the question, why aren't there any more black writers? But they had one black writer, I forget his name, but he went to college, got his degree in journalism, and the only job they would give him is to go to the courtroom, see who's going to jail, who lost their case, and mostly it was us, because back during that time here in Greenville, you can have 5 ounces of cocaine, and this black dude can have 5 ounces. He going down to Houston to the big prison. He's going to get probation. And I didn't like that. And so I went down there and I said, why aren't there any writers? You got a whole page full of different writers, but they're all white, don't you think? He said, well, can you write? I said, I went to school just like you, which was a lie. He didn't catch on. He, on his wall, he had the universities he had graduated from, the being an editor for this and editor for that. I learned how to read and write just like you. He said, oh, okay. Well, write something up and bring it in to me the next day. And the first article I ever wrote for the Herald Banner was, we're putting together a pageant. Okay? For the minorities who seem not to know that they're beautiful. And he printed it. And every week, he said, you're coming out on Wednesdays of every week and have an article. Well, hey, my husband didn't want me to go to work. You know, Thrash is out there. And so I'd be at home and I could write up 25 articles, doing nothing else, send them up there, so he had plenty. So when you're a writer for the newspaper, it goes to your home free of charge.
Oh, okay.
So the papers were coming, and when Wednesdays would come, I wouldn't see me. So I called up there. I said, every time I look for my articles, they're either in Sundays or Mondays, or he said, because on the day you're supposed to come out, we sell more newspapers at the stands and everything because they're looking for you. And I said, oh, you know how you pat yourself on the back? I said, oh, go ahead, T. You know? He said, well, don't get too excited, Teresa, because when they call looking for your writing or your articles, they say, where is that B at? How come she ain't in the paper today? I can't stand that B. And I said, well, why don't you get rid of the B then? Because you're selling papers for us. That particular award is my most precious one from down through the years, because I would get threats from my own people. You know, Hattie Kelly said I had inspired her. She lived in Farmersville, and she went to the editor of her newspaper and asked could she write. So she had a column in that newspaper from then on. But she also had an NAACP when she found out I was putting one in Greenville. She put one in Farmersville. I told her how you do it. You call the head office, they'll send you a packet. And she was getting these horrible threats. I got them too. With the newspaper, one of the things they said to me, John, was, we hate you. Who told you we needed another newspaper here? We would have already hung you on the nearest tree, but we can't find a tree with limbs strong enough to carry your blankety blank, blank, blank. And I was sitting in my office downtown next to that Ray Howell building, and I burst into tears. If you have never experienced hate before, it's a feeling that, I don't know nobody I really hate. You know, enough to want to let them know I want to kill them.